So now we're back for the second half. I forgot in the beginning that I didn't introduce myself, and that was probably kind of rude. My name is Brandis Taylor. I'm a recent graduate of the New School. I graduated from Eugene Lang with a degree in cultural and digital media. So now let's meet the panelists. Let's start with you.
My name is Mike Spence. I go by Mike Shawn. I'm an attorney, currently an assistant district attorney in Queens. I used to specialize in domestic violence. I also co-manage Peter Rosenberg, host of the morning show on Hot 97. I'm also a part owner of a new venue up in Harlem called Mist Harlem. The website's mistharlem.com, and we're dedicated to preserving content, community, and culture from the Black and Latino diaspora. We do that via films, lectures, as well as talks and concerts. I'm originally from Queens, educated at Howard Law, as well as University of Maryland. And I also work with 88 Keys, and I manage a couple artists signed to him.
My name is Jozen Cummings. I am currently a reporter at the New York Post. I'm the dating reporter. So they have a blind date column, and I run that. But I guess my credentials for being here, I'm a former editor at Vibe, King Magazine, for those who remember King. I was the editor there as well. And I have written about hip-hop extensively for everywhere from Wall Street Journal, the aforementioned magazines, XXL, ESPN the magazine, New York Times magazine, all sorts of places. So yeah, that's kind of how I got my start in the journalism industry as a music journalist.
Hey.
Thank you.
I'm Sowmya, and I'm a journalist and pop culture critic. So I write for everyone from Billboard, Rolling Stone, New York Magazine, MTV, as well as do TV commentary for CNN, E, Fuse, MTV. And prior to that, I've interned at Bad Boy Records, and I was a trainee at the William Morris Agency, one of the biggest talent agencies in Hollywood.
So let's see, if I ever get in trouble, there's a lawyer on the panel.
You definitely don't want to have to call me.
And if I have any dating advice, I can go to the second guy here. And
You
if
don't
I
want to call me.
I don't want to.
You don't want to.
And if I need a ghostwriter, I can go to you. Can I call you?
Yes.
Yes, I got one. Yes. So there we go. My name is Roy Paul. How do you describe yourself? This is awkward.
Well, first, he graduated from this.
Yes, I'm a proud alum of the master's program here at the New School. Yeah. And now I can't pay my rent because. That. But I guess I can start with, in 2006, I was elected to a Board of Ed in Orange County, New York. And at the time, I was the youngest African American in the state to do that. Didn't know it at the time. That's how naive I was. And got into journalism after my tenure was over. Landed some good breaks with people like Dr. Maya Angelou and the late Ed Koch, who used to be mayor, and David Dinkins, and a slew of other people. And I actually did that when I was here in the graduate program in media studies. And now WABC 7 in New York had a terrible lapse in judgment when they allowed me to be on television and give commentary from time to time.
Hey everybody, my name is LastO. I'm an openly gay rap artist. So if you need to have sex with a man, I can help you out in that department.
That is everything.
Amazing.
Homo-eroticism. Google it. Don't worry.
Okay, so we're going to start this discussion with a clip. Let's dim the lights, please.
That's pretty amazing. Thank you.
Sanford Police Department. Lines down. Report to.
Now let's put it all in perspective before the outrage burns out misdirected. What can we do so our community's protected? I believe that should be our main objective. While we full of rage and we want to make a difference, let's do more than protest. Let's make a commitment to be proactive, not just emotional reacting. Move like G's, never passing. Organize safe teams, martial art classes. Get to the gun range and make your aim accurate. Self-defense is a must by any tactic. Security protocol, make it a daily practice.
They say I look suspicious, I get it all the time. Pro-black face tatted when they drop down. Follow me, get on your jack, tell them to come get me. You better get your gun, you be the judge, jury. We gotta make better war moves. Police the pigs, polish our own tools. Fight back, become a force to be reckoned. Let them feel the consequence, pulling that weapon. They do what they wanna do, who they think they can. In a stand, there's no respect for the black man. What's the solution? The ballad of the bullet, G. Give me that pistol, that vote never give us free. I tell the young people, go ahead, protest. Petitions, picket signs, citizens arrest. Just know we get war, so get your game face on. Hoodie on, I bomb first for Trayvon.
I'm tired of the marching, the rally, and the protesting. We hooping and hollering, still we getting no justice. To Daniel Diallo, Bell Grant, and Trayvon. It's the free mix on your radio station. Turn it up so you can drown out all the media hype. We plot, planning, and strategizing, ready to fight. The government ain't gonna stop it as long as they make a profit off our criminalization. Our people gon' be a target. Justin sipping window Allen, who gon' be next? Fuck the talking, get some power, then we get some respect. When I die, don't put me on a shirt, my nigga. Be a revolutionary, make them hurt, my nigga. That's a quote from New York Money, that's my RBG family. Stick man, Mike Flow, most deaf is insanity. Cause we do the same thing, expecting different results. I'm checking the vital signs, but I ain't getting no pulse.
Peace, a view from a true G's perspective. These mic machines oppose all oppression. They appointed here to uphold justice, but they get denied, yo, they cheat and they lie, folk. Hate, use fake moves and wild hostile. Young black world in the struggle for survival. Great stress and effect, disrespect, disconnect, judge them wisely. Skittles and nice teeth, gunshots and blood to break the night. Raise a 7-point and judge that might be Nazi. Insecurity, identity, doubt. You think that they see a neighbor, they see a villain is out. The standard answer, it was random police movement and conclusive confusion. The present news clips, callous bullshit. Every talking head is clueless. Man, they stuck on channel stupid. Sick in the town, we know it's been that. It's time to fix that for every place we live at. Put in work really hard to change the whack facts. They make you holler in the hour when they say that. They shooting, made you die. I act as if the murder innocence is not crime. Killers on the run, watch man, your time's up. Mr. Murderer, where you hiding at? They shooting, made you die. I act as if the murder innocence is not crime. Killers on the run, watch man, your time's up. I hope you hear this, right where you hiding at. Trayvon, who are you? Trayvon, Trayvon, who are you?
Can we hear it for Yasembe, my future baby daddy? Okay. So, all right. So we're going to talk about politics now. And what I would like to talk about is Trayvon Martin versus Christopher Dorner. Everyone know who Christopher Dorner is? Okay, just want to make sure. So Trayvon Martin's case received a great amount of attention and sympathy from the hip-hop community, while Christopher Dorner's story was more complicated and controversial in the support, and open support. Although people weren't necessarily openly supporting him, it resonates closely with hip-hop history and was the reason Dorner received support from Jesse Jackson and his neighborhood. What is your take on hip-hop's reaction to Martin versus Dorner?
Regarding Dorner, I think the members of the hip-hop community who sympathized with him identified with the rebel aesthetic of hip-hop that's come to be very common over the years. I think when you look at masculinity in hip-hop and the way men are perceived and the way we portray ourselves, we tend to fall in one of really 3 categories. Black men try to portray themselves as the breadwinner, the provider, the person who's in control and running things. Black men try to portray themselves as the rebel, the person who goes against the grain, the person who represents counterculture thoughts. And then you have the man with a plan, basically, the man who's always trying to work forward. They may not have it all together, but they're trying to get towards another place, whether that be good or bad. They're moving towards something. And I think that specifically, and this isn't the first time, but I think people really, those who sympathize, who are in the minority, I think those people truly just identify with that rebel aesthetic. He was going against the LAPD. beyond his specific acts, which I don't think anyone, whether you sympathize with him or not, I don't think anyone thinks what he did was okay. But I think that when you look at it from the perspective of him being a black man and going against a government agency that has been known over the years to exploit and abuse black men and black people and minorities specifically, that's what they related to. I think the difference with Trayvon is obvious. He was victimized. He was a child, you know, and based on the facts that most people have come to accept, he was innocent when it occurred. So I think that came from a more humanistic perspective. This is a child who was killed in cold blood that wasn't deserving.
Do you think rappers today are more afraid to speak up about injustice because it could possibly tear them away from their white audience?
No. I just think that they don't necessarily feel the pressure to express how they feel about these polarizing issues or political issues in a way that I think rappers know their role. They're rappers. And I don't think that we care that much sometimes about what they really have to think unless it comes in the form of a good song. And if you look at something like the song that we just, I mean, the first people that I would think would make a song about Trayvon Martin is Dead Prez and Mos Def. Like, those are the first artists that I would think about. And I don't think that that's necessarily wrong, but you have to also put their entire career in context. That is who they are as artists. And we have so many choices nowadays that you can't get mad that your favorite rapper isn't making a song about Trayvon Martin. Because you have choices out there in which there are rappers who are making a song about Trayvon Martin, and you can go and listen to them. So I think that artists now are more comfortable with being artists, more comfortable with being MCs, and doing their kind of music on their terms, and they don't have to not coward, but they don't have to bow down to anybody's demands to create a song for the purposes of getting an issue out there or something like that, simply because, hey, if you don't like my music, you can go listen to someone else's music. I don't care if white people are listening to my music or not. I know other people are out there listening to my music because they want to hear what I have to say about anything. And you know, like, I don't want to hear what Lil Wayne has to say about a lot of things. You know what I mean? I like him. I like the song that he has on radio right now. It is a misogynistic, inappropriate song with an inappropriate hook, but I like that song. That's kind of, and that's a Lil Wayne that I like. I don't need you talking about whatever the hot button political issues
but
are
even
right now.
Wayne, remember when Hurricane Katrina happened and Wayne did the song Georgia Bush, right?
Mm-hmm.
That because it hit close to home, and I think it resonated because it was personal, and he talked about the storm coming and how he lost people in the storm, and how I think like both of his Jags, he lost both of them, which again, he was being real. I think what's interesting, and I agree with you, Jozen, because you're right. Most rappers nowadays are very neutral, and I think because there's a lot at stake. I mean, you mentioned you have it's no longer just your friends listening to your music or even just your state or your country. It's global. Mm-hmm. And on top of that, you have brands and you have all of these other people who are stakeholders. So, you know, you can say in confidence that you're voting for a certain candidate, or you may not agree with something, but then you got to think, oh my gosh, it's not just me. It's my Pepsi deal. It's that deal with BlackBerry. I kind of want to be in this movie that's being directed by Brett Ratner. How's he going to feel? It's a lot more stakeholders. And I think if you look historically, you know, it used to be Fuck the Police and it used to be Cop Killer. A lot of those guys are now playing family guys in Hollywood movies. Like, you went from Cop Killer to playing a cop on TV. I think it just kind of shows where we are. Mm. So, you know, there's a lot more stakeholders, but I think it also is just a larger conversation that, you know, comparatively speaking, as a culture, as a country, we're not very outspoken. I mean, you look at Obama in 2008, how excited everyone was and everyone wanted to get involved. This year, there was really nothing. I mean, yes, Jay-Z threw some parties that none of us got invited to. Maybe you did.
Speak for yourself.
Maybe you did. But, you know, it was by and large, as a country, I think we like to be sort of neutral and be very diplomatic. And aside from 140 characters that we can quickly delete, people don't really take a stand. So that's not just rappers. That's just everyone kind of as a youth and as a culture, I would say.
You guys brought up Lil Wayne, and I'd actually like to talk about him for a second, please, if you don't mind. So this month, which many of you may or may not know that it's Black History Month. Only for one more day, though. It's not leap year, right? A few more hours, it's over for us. Okay, so Lil Wayne released a song called Karate Chop Remix, in which one of his lyrics is beat the pussy up like Emmett Till. His record label, after it was released, after the initial release, they pulled it for being slammed for insensitivity. And since then, we haven't heard any response from Lil Wayne regarding this at all. So what can be said about the state of hip hop today when he hasn't said anything about it? And also, like, everyone on CMB and whatever else they have.
IMCB.
Right, thank you. They're none of them are speaking up or addressing this. No one's holding him accountable.
Let's see if I can sort of answer the first question, because I feel left out a little bit, and then sort of backdoor it into Lil Wayne. I think that the two issues, Trayvon Martin and Chris Dorner, are totally different. I don't think we can compare the two. But I would agree that at its core, identifying with the historical struggle of African Americans is at its core. And we've gotten to a point, I think, where without having appropriate outlets to express our frustration, we've sort of decided that we either are going to seek revenge or get reparations. And I think most people not seeing reparations as a viable option have sort of taken the revenge route. And hip-hop, in a way, has sort of acted as a route to seeking that revenge. I would say that the biggest problem that is involved in the hip-hop communities that we have not held our rappers to a higher standard when it comes to the image that they project out there in the public. And the fact that they're not making political statements about what's going on in the community, I see that as a negative thing. That's part of the problem, that we're not holding them accountable when they need to be the ones talking to the community about the issues that are going on, like Chris Dorner and Trayvon Martin. And so, you know, I may be in the minority when I say that, but I want to hear our rappers talk about the issues that are pressing us right now going on, because there are too many people who are dying, whether it's because of the prison industrial complex or the fact that African-American young men in particular aren't learning in schools. I want our people who are going to be out there, who have the following, to bring these issues to light, to be the ones talking about the issues that are important. When it comes to Lil Wayne, I don't think anyone is going to stand up for the comments that he made, and I think that, you know, as much of a publicity stunt as it was, which I think it is. I mean, before this controversy, I didn't hear of Lil Wayne in years. I mean,
I didn't say stand up for them. No one is addressing the fact that he made these like ridiculous comments. Like, no one from his team is saying like, "Hey, he said that. I didn't say that. I just want that to be clear."
I don't think it's necessary.
Yeah, it isn't necessary. I mean, personally, I'm a big proponent of the freedom of speech. So I feel like you're kind of getting into some real tricky territory when you basically take away somebody's freedom of speech. Whether you agree with it or not, you got to take the good with the bad with that. With that being said, anybody remember Kanye West's Through the Wire and how he compared his face to Emmett Till?
After getting in a car accident.
After getting in a car accident?
Said anything.
Two different contexts. I understand that, right? But when, I think people pick their battles, but they always try to, you know, go after the name that is going to basically get their cause out there, and it's very tactful. And I'm not questioning the sincerity. I'm not questioning how upset the Till family really was over that. Of course, they should be upset, but they shouldn't just be upset at Wayne. If you really want to make the fact that Emmett Till's name is being used in this disrespectful manner, go out there and go to rapgenius.com, search Emmett Till's name. Pretty sure Lil Wayne isn't going to be the only rapper you see. So you have to understand that, like, these issues sometimes, I think, get put under a microscope when they really need to be looked at and focused on focused on a large scale, because you're diluting the issue by just making it about one artist and one song and one lyric. I personally think that any kind of like reference you're making to Emmett Till that isn't discussing the history and the significance of his situation is tasteless and shouldn't be said. But there's a lot of tasteless things that shouldn't be said in hip-hop, and they are said in hip-hop. Rick Ross made a reference to Trayvon Martin on the Usher single Touching You. That just happened. So, I mean, what are we going to get mad at? How angry are you going to get? And you got to really ask yourself, why does this make me angry? And then when you address that, investigate it a little bit more so that you can get angry properly, because I do believe that that is something worth getting angry about, but you have to make sure that you're being as smart about that as possible.
And I mean, I totally agree. You can't cherry pick with the First Amendment, because it's either yes or no, no matter how horrendous or disgusting or controversial, like it's our right. And either you take it for what it is or you don't. And I think what's something that's kind of interesting, although Wayne was completely tasteless and I don't, defend him, is there something to be said about him bringing, a historical figure that this generation may not know about and needs to know about? And again, totally tasteless lyric. I'm not co-signing it by any means, but is there something to be said about rappers sort of introducing people and events? I mean, Kanye's done this for years that this generation doesn't know about, because let's be honest, I didn't learn about Emmett Till in school, even during Black History Month. We're not going to talk about that. We'll talk about this. And that's a part of history that people need to know, whether even if it's just Wikipediaing it. And maybe this controversy, if anything positive came from it, you will have some young people who now know a little bit more about history that in school they're not teaching.
It's a bad line, though.
It's horrible. Horrible.
As a rapper, it's horrible.
I mean, the song is horrible, but that's neither here nor there.
Horrible.
Yeah, I don't want anybody to get confused. Like, Lil Wayne wasn't doing that to teach us about Emmett Till, I don't think. As a rapper myself, I know that and I've said a lot of lyrics that were saucy and etc. And and a lot of the time it's about pushing the envelope. And I think he just went in there and he was probably on the scissor. Nah, he don't do that no more. What does he do?
Sober, guys.
What drug? Whatever drug he's on now.
Drug of choice for the day.
Yeah, I think he popped a Molly and he doesn't. I mean, Lil Wayne's charm, his pull is I'm the one who doesn't give up. And so for him to say that is just further solidifying his brand.
I mean, I know I'm not on the panel, but I just feel like this needs to be said. When you have rights, you also have responsibilities. Mm-hmm. So in order to, to keep the rights and freedoms that we have to be responsible with that. We have to be good stewards over what we're given. And I just don't.
They took it off the shelf, though. I mean, you have a right to, you are owned by the record label. Like, they did what they had to do. He is, I'm not going to say suffering, but he is definitely there were consequences that he had to endure for that. You have a right to say what you want. We as a label have a right to take that off of the shelf and do what we want with that song.
But they took it down in hindsight.
In response.
But it can't.
In response
to the negative criticism.
That's smart business.
Because there was someone who said, "Oh yeah, we're going to put that out. That's going to be hot," and then.
I mean, I think that if you look at the context of the song, they're looking at it as a song. I don't think anybody's saying, like, that's going to be the line that is going to take them to the next level.
I think that's part of the problem, though.
Take it to the next level.
But at what point does it end?
But why is it a problem? Why is it a problem? I think it's a problem because Lil Wayne said it. And that's a problem to me.
And I agree with you on that. And I think that's why it came to the forefront. I also agree with you as far as this being a publicity stunt. I don't know how many people read the letter that actually came from the organization, but the last paragraph is join our foundation, like help us out, make us famous, help us get money. I get it. At the same time, there is a greater issue with the fact that, like Sowmya said, this is going to be Sowmya said, this is going to be people's initial introduction to Emmett Till. So there's a danger in that. Same way there's a danger in people's first slave narrative possibly being Django Unchained.
Ooh.
It's entertaining. I love it. It's funny. But do children need to be introduced to slavery like that? Do they need to be introduced to Emmett Till like that? And the problem is, and before I even get any further, I used to be a rapper. I was signed to Jimmy Henchman, if anyone knows who that is. And I have a pretty good personal experience with hip-hop and hip-hop culture. The problem is that no one who was in that studio with Lil Wayne said, yo, you're Lil Wayne, B. That Emmett Till line really won't fly. You know what I'm saying? Especially the way you're doing it. The Kanye example was different, like you said. But I think also
because I think that was tasteless too.
It was tasteless, but what did it compare? It didn't compare sex.
It wasn't referencing it to a vagina.
It wasn't.
So now we have a problem with the fact that it referenced a vagina.
No. I'm not going to take it to that level. I'm just going to differentiate and why.
I mean, I just remember when the Kanye line came out. Just as context, it's in Through the Wire where he got in a car accident and it said his face when it was all swollen. His girl might think he looks like Emmett Till. And I was in college when that came out, and we were a little shocked. Like, that's pretty tasteless. But a lot of people let that slide because it was Kanye. He was just coming up, and his whole shtick was, well, this is him being, like, really intellectual and academic, and his mom's a professor. But to me, that was still shocking as well. Now, that being said, with Lil Wayne, I think the bigger question is the expectation that everyone should be on this pedestal of being this intellectual and having an opinion and being a role model. At the end of the day, most rappers, like, you're a rapper because you can rap, or someone thought that you can rap, not because you're a role model, not because you're a babysitter. And I think that's a larger conversation of us putting celebrities on this pedestal to raise kids. And it's not. I mean, our country and communities and parents should be raising kids. If Lil Wayne or Kanye or the Kardashians or whoever are who you're going to as role models, that's a bigger issue in our country that's far greater than hip hop.
And I totally agree with you, but I think that recognizing that problem alone doesn't fix it. And I think that we also have responsibility inside the culture, and artists have that responsibility as purveyors of the culture to do what's in their control to try to at least mitigate some of those negative effects of what they're doing.
But then the question is for Lil Wayne, from where he came from and sort of intellectually who he is as a person, that might be reflective of him. So that's another conversation that this multimillionaire who's he's like 30 years old, he thought that it was in good taste. And maybe to him, it was relevant and it resonated. So that's a whole different conversation unto itself, right?
Yeah.
Well, we could go on about Lil Wayne all night, but quite frankly, I'm kind of over it. Sorry. I can't with him. Okay, so, but he's a good transition into the next topic. We're going to watch a clip.
Generally speaking, black people do not believe that misogyny and sexism and violence against women are urgent issues. We still think that racism, police brutality, black male incarceration are the issues that we should be concerned about.
If we have a glorified sense of our own victimization as black and brown men, what we must not miss, and what we often do, is to understand that black and brown women themselves are so victimized, not only by white patriarchy, but by black male supremacy and by the violence of masculinity that's directed toward them.
I said it must be ass, cause it ain't your face. I need a If you see a tip drill, point out where she at, point out where she at, point out. Now she goes. If you see a tip drill, point out where she at, point out where she at, point out. Now she goes. Come on, girl, you know what we came here for. Was you a tip drill? We need a tip drill. I said, now come on, girl, you know what we came here for. We need a.
It is true that these women appear not to be resisting. What I would hope, however, is that these women understand the extent to which they are participating in a culture which commodifies women sexually.
Okay, so hyper-masculinity is a concept that has haunted hip-hop since the beginning. We've seen a gradual shift in context with Drake's Take Care, which won a Grammy for Best Rap Album. Do you guys think that gangster rap has faded from the limelight? And is there hope for extracting hypermasculinity from the rap genre?
I mean, I'm the only girl here, so I guess I should answer. you know, at the end of the day, historically, right? So rap is like Black and Latino men talking to other Black and Latino men. So that's, first of all, the baseline of where the music stems from. And even where we are now, I mean, I can tell you working in the industry, it's still mostly guys. It's a guys industry, men dealing with men from the, you know, on the label side to running the media companies to signing artists, A&Rs, the whole shindig. So, you know, as long as women are still in the minority, I think that's going to be an issue. Like, it's still like guys. I mean, on this panel, it was me and one other girl, and I don't even know where she went. So just me.
She went to work.
She went to work. You know, so I think it's just that's going to be a part of it. Just because right now it's still very imbalanced, is men versus women. You know, I think it's interesting because right now in rap specifically, like lyrically, like we're still kind of in the age of the stripper. And yeah, women are at the forefront or the back front. I'm not really sure what side it is, but that's what it's about right now. And every rapper, whether it be Wayne to even Drake, who's kind of considered like the emo sensitive guy, that's what they're talking about. You know, it's very sexualized. And right now as a woman, it's like, you know, we're in the tip drill era. It might not be called that. It might be called something else and auto-tuned, but we're still in that era.
Ratchet.
I don't think hip hop didn't invent hyper-masculinity. They put a beat to it. But hyper-masculinity has been around for a long time. I know this because I was raised by one of the most hyper-masculine men that I know, and he wasn't a part of the hip hop generation. So you got to look at the way that black men have tried to basically claim their masculinity all throughout history and understand that it goes way, way, way deeper than hip-hop. I don't think that hip-hop, you take it away, and that's going to be any less of a problem because the pressure on men to be men is always going to be great, and sometimes like over, you know, they're gonna you're always gonna have men that are gonna hyperextend themselves to prove themselves to be men, and they don't necessarily need a rap song to tell them that. You know what I mean? So just think that you, like, Miles Davis would beat Cicely Tyson. He's a jazz musician. You know, so like this has been going on for a very long time. You read old stories about, you know, like James Brown and all these other like R&B singers. It's always been going on. It just wasn't in the music, and you know maybe it shouldn't be made as public. But that's always been an issue. Some of those stats at the that were throwing up about, you know, the percentage of women that are victims or fall victims. I noticed that it didn't say what kind of man is doing the beating. And I guess we're supposed to assume that that's black men that are doing the beating, but I'm not going to assume that. And I'm not going to assume that they did it while some hip-hop album was playing in the background. That's just ridiculous.
I would also, it makes me feel like Brad, I'm actually curious about what the statistics are today. Because this feels this is old, right?
I mean, domestic.
Generally, the statistics don't change.
Yeah, domestic violence is an issue, but it is one of those things that, unlike police brutality, which does affect a race of people, this is a gender issue. It's a gender war, and you're going to need to rally a lot of men, regardless of color. A lot more men than all the black men, because even if you took all the black men and they came to a consensus and said that touching women is wrong, you still wouldn't have enough to really make that big of a difference. And I hope that doesn't sound cynical. I'm not saying that they shouldn't, but we all need to. Black men, white men, you know, Asian men, Latino men, all need to come together for that cause. If you marginalize it and make it about hip hop, you are immediately, like, you know.
But when you look at hip hop compared to other genres, let's take, for example, country, right? Two music genres in the United States that have a major impact, right? Country is like probably the most popular genre in the United States, right? So when you look at that and you look at hip hop, which is maybe equally as influential, right? You don't see country, even though the country singer might be beating his wife when he gets off the stage.
Country fan is probably beating his wife.
I understand that, but my point is that they're not spreading the message of violence through their music.
And magically, they're still fans are still beating their wives. Like the music isn't making them do that. And if the music is making some people do that, I think that that's like,
not making them do it, but it's definitely perpetuating that what I'm doing must be okay.
I don't think it's about domestic violence. I think that's not the right metric, right? So it's not a causation relationship. Like, to your point, like, I listen to Chief Keef, so I'm going to, like, beat up my wife. I don't think anyone old enough to have a wife should listen to Chief Keef. But the point is, I think it's more when the pervading image is that women are sexual objects. You're either a hoe or a bitch or some combination thereof, and you are here to smash me and all my homies because, you know, that's what you're here for. It's not so much that leads to domestic violence, but if you're young and you're impressionable and you didn't grow up, you know, with a good parental unit community structure, how do you view women as a young man? And then to the second point, as a woman, how do you view yourself? And I think you're seeing this young generation of people, and again, it's not just hip hop. I don't want to sit here, you know, haranguing just, you know, this culture, but it's in our popular culture now. It's all about, you know, oozing sexuality. It's who are you sleeping with? What do your Instagram pictures look like? How many guys like the picture? That's what you're being applauded for. So you have that generation of men and women coming up who are, you know, garnering self-identities based upon that. So I think that's the bigger question, not so much is Chief Keef, you know, leading into domestic violence.
Yeah, no, I would say the biggest difference between the hip-hop community and country music is that within the country music industry, I would dare say that a rapper, a country music artist who came out talking about beat your hoe, I don't think he would sell too many records, because culturally, you can laugh, it's okay, because culturally, it's not acceptable within the country music industry. It's become more acceptable within the hip-hop community. And I would agree that to a larger extent, within, you know, our community, being able to talk about what it is to be a man and to be a woman has become very difficult, and it's not something that we talk about a lot. And that's part of the problem.
To kind of build on what we were talking about earlier as far as it going way back, you know, over the course of the years, the traditional idea of a man there's such a huge disparity between the identity of the black man, okay? Majority of black women have more education than black men. On average, black women get hired quicker than black men. On average, black women get paid more than black men. On average, black women have more education than black men. You take all these things into account, and then you start looking at hip-hop, okay? Hip-hop has provided an alternative means, like you said, for these men to claim their masculinity. And how do they do that, right? It's very simple. Athletic wear. Jeans that are expensive, Jordans, flashy cars, rims, Ciroc, alcohol, women, strip clubs. Do I need to continue?
Yes.
Yes. Right.
And if you look specifically at strip clubs, what is that? That's defined as a masculine enclave. If you really look at masculinity, you'll see that it's most easily expressed in male-dominated places. Strip clubs, sports bars, clubs, hip-hop. This is a masculine enclave. So if anyone ever wonders why there are more men than women, why women have been marginalized, that is the reason. It is on purpose. It is an enclave that was created for men initially, although women are welcome. I saw an awesome article the other day that says, I think the title was, is the black man's masculinity being claimed by white girls? That was the title of the article that I read. And it was about Krayshawn and all these white females who have adopted some of the hip-hop ways of acting, presenting themselves, speaking, dressing, and how they've adopted a lot of these constructs originally created by black men to show that they were masculine. It's all on purpose, y'all. You know what I'm saying? And I think that at the end of the day, we have to admit to ourselves that there's a certain truth out there, and the truth is that hip-hop initially was created for men, unfortunately.
And for the people who are sort of outraged and disgusted, stop buying it. Don't download it. Stop buying it.
Stop buying hip-hop. If you want to stop it, stop buying it.
Exactly. What women don't realize is their power is in the dollar. Like, rappers make music for you. It may not always feel that way, but talk to any rapper, and what he'll tell you is, as long as I'm good with the girls, I'm good. Because women are loyal fans. They will support you. They'll put your poster on the wall. So if you're that, you know, kind of disgusted and that's not what you want, stop supporting it. And I promise you the businesses behind it will stop signing these guys. And that's when lyrics and images will change. But, you know, aside from that Nelly tip drill example, and there was a little bit of outrage when that first came out, women love Juicy J and women love, you know, Drizzy and all of these guys, Future, 2 Chainz. Like a lot of women are like, I love that song and I'm wearing a business suit, but on Friday and Saturday I'm gonna get ratchet and listen to bands and make her dance. So if that's the thing, it's sort of collectively speaking, if we say enough is enough, the industry and subsequently artists will follow suit.
Well, we can't discuss masculinity without talking about homo-eroticism. So I'd like to transition into our next clip.
I ran into these 3 hip-hop heads back at Daytona Beach. Now, let me just ask this question. This is out of curiosity and probably naivete and ignorance. But like, what do you classify yourself as? You know what I'm saying? I mean, are you women? Are you men? I mean, what do you classify yourself as?
I mean, on a day-to-day, on a regular day-to-day, I'm just a regular guy. But every now and then, I do dress up and women clothes. I like to wear women clothes. And besides, I look good in them.
How do you feel about homophobia in rap lyrics? Does that bother you at all? Does that make you feel any particular way?
It turns me on. Not me.
You said it turns you on. Why does it turn you on?
It's so aggressive. Let's do it. It's so aggressive. But they shouldn't be doing that because we some people who support a lot of their music, buy their music, go to their concerts and everything. We do.
Yeah. I'm dealing with homophobia in hip hop, right? Homophobic lyrics and things like that.
I can't partake in that conversation. That homo?
Yeah.
As you talking about?
Yeah.
I can't even talk to you about that.
Why not?
Because I mean, with all due respect, you know what I mean? I ain't trying to offend nobody. It's my cultural, what I represent culturally doesn't condone it whatsoever. So I'm slide. I'm being allowed.
All right.
The word is born.
Well, let me just ask you this, Buster. Let me just ask you this. All right. Do you think that a gay rapper would ever be accepted in hip hop culture?
Pass the Henny and then some. Say the word and we're gone.
I've never even seen straight black men in large numbers even try to have conversations with gay brothers. You know what I mean? I know folks have done it one-on-one. I've done it one-on-one. You know what I mean? But I don't really see that happening, man. Because I think part of the problem, part of the onus falls on straight men to really, one, begin to process how we define manhood.
Okay, we're gonna show one more clip. So that was everyone heard what Busta Rhymes said, right? Okay.
I know you're a veteran of the hip hop community. Frank Ocean just recently came out with a statement saying that he was in a relationship long ago. Do you think hip hop's ready for like someone of a different sexual orientation, or are they going to be accepting of it, or what are your opinions on that?
I don't know if it's just about hip hop being willing to accept it. I think the whole world is ready to accept whatever people choose to be in life. You know what I'm saying? From hip hop all the way down to just the common man that walks the streets and the earth every day. It's like we're at a place in life where, we got to respect and accept what people choose as their path that they want to walk in life. Because ultimately, you want people to respect what you choose as your path in your journey in life. And ultimately, whatever that man does in his personal space is that man's choice and it's that man's business. I am an extremely huge fan of Frank Ocean. His music is impeccable to me. And as far as I'm concerned, I respect the dude completely. I think, whatever he does at home is his business. Just keep that music popping the way you've been keeping it, brother. And you got my money from the concerts.
Okay.
You know where that went.
So to the panel, I'd like to ask, do you believe that Busta Rhymes' change in opinion of openly speaking about gay culture is because of a shift in age and time, or do you think that there is really a shift in the paradigms of hip hop today?
I like how everybody looking at me like, what do you think? First, I would like to say that he was probably saying that because his stylist, you see how his eyes kept averting over there, like his stylist was right off camera. The one who put him in one's clothes. No, I think that, as they were saying in the first panel, it's becoming passé to have these homophobic ideas and lyrics and whatnot. And also, I think that everybody knows that behind the scenes, executives, A&Rs, these are homosexual people. I mean, not all of them. I'm not saying, you know, like, it's a prerequisite for the job. But I mean, I think that they are starting to understand how much we run shit. I mean, like, we really run this one.
Well, what has been your experience as a queer rapper? Have you found that it's more difficult for you to like break into the mainstream or to get booked for shows?
I've been rapping since 2008, and y'all haven't heard of me. So that tells you right there, you know, how tough it's been. No, but it's not because I'm gay. It's because I mean, there would probably be other factors. I experienced more of a brick wall from other gays, to be honest.
Wow.
I don't get called, you know, fag, like fag, sit down, you know, and all that by straight people. Most of the issues I have is with other gay men in this field and this whatever, you know what I mean? Backbiting and backstabbing and, oh, you can't, you know what I mean? Because everybody's fighting trying to get this one thing, this one spot.
Regarding Busta, I do think it was very genuine. Last year, July, we had Rosenberg's birthday at Best Buy, and Odd Future rocked. And Busta was not rocking that night, and he came out after the show and was literally on stage with Frank for a good 30 minutes, just talking. He's a huge fan of his. It's very genuine. I think that probably over the years, he's just come to have a realization that things are changing, times are changing, and he has to change with it. So that's my perspective. And then another thing, I would just challenge hip-hop fans to look at music not necessarily as if it's homophobic, but genderphobic. I think a lot of times when you hear rappers extend an insult towards another rapper, he's very clear on that artist's heterosexuality. He's trying to demasculate him. He's saying, oh, you have no sexual prowess. Oh, you like guys. You like this. You like that. It's just to make him seem like less of a man in comparison. It's a part of the culture. You get what I'm saying? And I don't think all the time it's meant to insult specifically the gay community, or even directly insult that artist. It's within the art. That's what they do.
Well, what's interesting too is, remember, Frank is a singer. Like, we still have yet to see, you know, present company not, you know, excluded, an openly gay rapper. And I think there's a difference, because I think with a lot of rappers, you know, obviously we saw Busta, but during the time that Frank, and again, he didn't really come out. He just put out, you know, a note that said he had feelings for a man. Every interview, whether from T.I. to whoever, the question was, what do you think about Frank? And everyone gave this sort of uncomfortable diplomatic answer similar to Busta. And it was kind of, well, I like his music, so what if Frank was a rapper? How would the industry accept him? I think is an interesting question. And, you know, secondarily, what if Frank's music wasn't good? Like, if if Channel Orange wasn't a good album, would we even have him as part of this conversation? I think what most people, when you ask them about Frank, they say, well, what he does at home is his personal business, and the music sounds good. To me, that's not acceptance. That's just you saying, as long as it's a don't ask, don't tell policy. As long as I don't see it, it's fine. But please don't give me details about you and Willie Cartier. That's TMI. I don't want to know. And just go do your thing and send me really good hooks. So I feel like the acceptance thing, it's still a slippery slope. Like, until we have a openly gay rapper as a man and people accept him, want to do songs with him, and don't kind of, you know, go after low-hanging fruit as a way of dissing him, I think that's going to be the real litmus test.
What is no offense to you, LastO, what does an openly gay rapper look like? Because I didn't even know you were gay until I didn't read the bios.
Oh, okay.
I didn't know you were gay. When we're talking about this openly gay rapper, I don't even know what that looks like. I don't know what that sounds like. I don't know why it matters. Because you always hear about like Kanye West. Like, people love to insult Kanye West, and they'll basically like speculate about his sexuality. And I don't know why that matters in the context of making music and making hip hop. You have to understand that an openly gay rapper can go to a strip club filled with women and make it rain on those girls.
But he or she can still talk about topics that are experiences that they personally go through, and I think a reason.
But you're asking artists to be that's something that we want to see from artists all around, right? Is that be real about your life, open up about who you are, quit acting like you have 5 girls when you know you really only are in love with 1 girl, and things like that. And they're not going to do that. They're just not. That doesn't help their bottom line in the least bit. You know what I mean? I wrote a few years ago that Jay-Z should rap about being married. That was pretty, like, in retrospect, he doesn't really have to. You know, you don't have to let us into your life and your personal life to that extent. And to demand that of a gay rapper, so to speak, so I'd really like to hear your opinion on this, of just like making songs about being gay. Is that the kind of like, do you feel pressure to do that? Do you hear about that? Because when I think of like this thing that we have about wanting to find a gay rapper, I think that we expect the gay rapper to rap about being gay, and that's unrealistic.
Yeah, I think when I first started rapping, I did feel the pressure to rap about being gay. Now that I'm 3 projects down the line, I don't feel that pressure at all. Matter of fact, I'm sick of talking about it,
right?
To be honest. So, but I think it's worth noting that no other musical genre is more like a journal of someone's experience than hip hop. I think that other forms of music take a more generic stance. Like what I'm saying, you can easily slip into that. You know what I mean? Like when these rappers make songs, it's supposed to be a little bit more intimate. They're opening the drape so you can look into their life, you know what I mean? And I think that's why probably they're looking for a gay rapper. Like, well, when is that going to happen? Also, probably because there have been many gay rappers before, but they just didn't say it.
I think every artist should just come out of the closet. Bad joke.
Well, how does this, like, how do we compare there not being any openly gay rappers that are in mainstream hip hop right now to the fact that there are still people producing records that have so much homophobia in them? So, like, where's the balance? If a gay rapper shouldn't feel pressured about rapping about him being gay, then like where's that culture represented? Where's the space?
This could sound insensitive, but I don't hear too much rap that explicitly says I hate gay people.
Nobody says that, but they refer to other people.
Yeah,
as faggots.
That's poor language. But a lot of rap is a victim of poor. There's a lot of poor language. We just talked about Emmett Till. All around, you know, we're talking about the use of the F word, and we're talking about using gay to describe someone as soft. I think Brad had pointed that out in the previous panel. Like you could probably use your head a little bit more, come up with better ways to describe that somebody is less of a man than you. But these are things that you learn on the playground. Like, unfortunately, like that's, and you don't learn that are wrong until much, much later. But in the context of creating a song, especially a song in a genre that's known for being as rebellious as rap is known for, you're going to get that not PC language in order to maximize the effect of your song, not necessarily to amplify your hatred of gays.
I don't know about that. I mean, I think that's sort of giving people a lot of credit. I think we can say by and large, like hip hop is not openly accepting to the LGBT community. I think we can say that.
Yeah.
I mean, whether you're a part of the community or not, it's not. Like, we hear the conversations, even off the record.
No homo all the time.
No homo. Like, that became a thing. I mean, it was on 30 Rock, for God's sakes. Like, it made it all the way up to mainstream. What I find interesting is how women play a role in this, because I would say last year you saw a lot of these female rappers, Azalea Banks, Kreayshawn, Sid the Kid from Odd Future, who you mentioned earlier, coming out as like bisexual, whether in interviews, or Sid actually had a music video where she takes a girl on a date. And I found it interesting because I interviewed Sid for Double XL, and I asked her, you're like an ambassador for the LGBT community. And she said, no, I don't know where you got that from. And I was like, well, you were on a date, a really romantic looking date with a girl. I thought that, and she's like, oh no, my sexuality is fluid. And I found that wording very interesting, because this is someone who, I mean, at least in a music video, seemed very comfortable with a woman. She'd done interviews with The Advocate and Out and all of these sort of LGBT media outlets. But when I point blank asked her, how do you categorize in a rap magazine? She said, do not write LGBT, write fluid. And it was just something where I'm sure she was tired of hearing it over and over. But that I found interesting as well. It's like, women also face it. I mean, we saw with Azalea Banks, she, they wrote she was bisexual in her New York Times profile, but we all saw her on Twitter going against, Angel Hayes and Perez Hilton and throwing out certain, certain terms that may speak to the contrary. So what is that? Even women sort of straddling the line, am I or aren't I? And you would think that with women it would be easier, sort of given where we are as a popular culture. But, from, all of these people, even Nicki Minaj, when she came out, kind of playing with its fluid sexuality, what does it all mean?
Well, it's definitely cultural. Ask Clive Davis what he is, and he would have a very difficult time telling you. He doesn't see the line with homo-eroticism. That just get hot saying homo-eroticism. You're the only one getting my jokes. And so I think when you talk about I need water. Here. Homo-eroticism and being gay, I think a lot of people don't draw the line. You can't just look at someone and say, dude, you're a good-looking guy, and not have people think that you're gay. And so I think once we get over the cultural humps that she got my joke. Once you get over the cultural humps that we have in our community, I think that will be reflected through our music.
And even Clive only came out, after how many decades in the music
and
industry?
Getting millions, I mean, book advance for.
Yeah, after, he had a book to promote, so.
Well, we have a few minutes left, so we're going to take some more questions from the audience. If you just want to line up over here at this microphone. Perhaps if you already asked a question, maybe someone else will get an opportunity.
Oh, man.
Only two of them.
I mean, if no one else gets up, he can be free. But last time, one person got up, and then everyone else got some courage.
Mm-hmm. How's everybody doing?
Good.
First, I would like to thank the organizations and the panelists for putting together this event. I would like to share a comment and a question directed at both panels and anybody in the room. My name is Munsell. I teach hip-hop dance and context here at the New School, and I'm a dance anthropologist. Addressing some of the stuff that was said on the first panel in terms of dancing and the Harlem Shake, in certain senses, may not be that serious of a topic that we need to go in that direction that we're seeing in these videos. But a lot of times through dance, and as a dance practitioner, it's not that dancers are just doing or teaching steps in particular. Like, what they are sharing is a past history that talks about intangible cultural heritage. And so for somebody to get excited about what's going on or feel a certain way that somebody's taking this dance or perceived to be taking this dance and doing this other thing, it holds a lot of meaning for them, even if at a young age they don't really understand that. Another thing I would like to share is that talking to a particular rapper, I'm not going to mention names, who everybody in here knows.
Oh, please do.
Now, I'm not going to mention names, but we had a conversation, and I was asking we were talking about dances and having dancers in his video representing what some was real hip hop. And he was like, if that's what you're calling, the argument between commercial hip hop, real hip hop, he was saying, if that's what you call hip hop, I don't recognize that. I'd rather have women shaking their ass, pardon my language. in the video. So it was interesting just to hear him say that, and a few other people kind of signed on to that thought pattern that, like, what I understand as hip hop, I'm not seeing. So I'm not going to have that because I'm supposed to project this sense of masculinity. So I can't have this, like, you know, the commercial stuff where they're like, ooh, ah, and all this kind of, you know, weird type movement or borrowing from ballet or modern. So that was just something I was thinking about. Like, I wonder what everybody else is thinking of why they're having this in their video, as opposed to just being some people being grown men and into going to a strip club. The last thing I would like to say is more of a question to everybody in terms of, like, I don't want to say accountability, but in a sense accountability and how we address certain things or how rappers talk about certain issues. As a person who I spend at least 6 months out of the year in another country, and it's very common for me to be in, like, Vladivostok, Russia, and have somebody come up to me and call me nigger because they're like, well, that's what rappers call you, so that's cool, right? I'm like, no, that's not cool. Like, you can't take that into consideration like that. And that's normal when I talk to a lot of my friends who are dancers and we travel and we're somewhere, we have to correct people or educate them. And their whole thought process is, well, rappers do it, so that's what you are. And then they make fun of certain poses like, oh, well, this is how niggers pose. And they, you know, they get low in the pictures, and that's what it represents for them. You know, and again, pardon the language if you're offended, but I'm just thinking, how do we address, or should we address, or what is that process to kind of challenge or change mindful perspectives on how we, you know, present these things to people?
Thank you.
That's tough. I mean, I'll agree with you and admit that, you know, hip hop and those who represent the culture internationally truly are ambassadors for African Americans, whether they want to be or not. Prior to President Obama, athletes, recording artists were the most famous and most current images of black men and women around the globe. Fortunately, we have Obama now, so we can change that, but in a couple years, he's going to be gone. And I think that what you're saying is true. We do need to change that, because when we go abroad, and when we don't even go abroad, but when they're looking at televisions and they see Diddy, they see 50 Cent or whoever, they think they represent every black person in this country. So it is necessary that we change that. How?
Yeah, I don't know how either, and that's not to say that we shouldn't try, but I mean, I think we were talking. They said on the last panel the confluence of culture and industry, and what gets like put out there in the entire world. I still believe that now more than ever, worldwide, you have choices and you have more access to a wide variety. You at least have access to enough images of our people to realize that we are not a monolith. But how they choose to engage with us is like, it's something wrong with them and kind of their limited experiences. And I wish that they would engage more with other, you know, popular figures who don't necessarily represent the seediest parts of our people, or you know, amplify the more negative aspects of it. Because I definitely understand what you're saying. Like, you go around the world and that's that one. They only have that one image, and that's not all of us at all. And it's a shame. But I guess for me, I've gotten really tired of getting mad at the music, and now I just get mad at the people. Like, you know better. You have enough tools out there to know better, and you refuse to know better. And like, so I'm going to try to help you. We're going to have a conversation, and I'm going to educate you. And I'm going to hope that that actually registers with you and you retain some of this information. But unfortunately, I'm not cynical. I mean, I'm too cynical to believe that they will.
That point that you brought up was very poignant, because I don't think a lot of people within the U.S. in particular realize that that's how we're seen internationally, because economically a lot of people can't travel internationally, but that they don't realize that that's the problem. I would also say to you that you know, and I surround myself around international people a lot for that specific reason. Being a journalist, it's important that the media industry hold the rappers accountable for that kind of behavior. And I say that that international perspective oftentimes comes from them reading articles where that's talked about, but artists aren't specifically held accountable to the point where the reporter would say, wait a minute, you just used the word nigga, why? Why did you do that? And the journalists, in many ways, have to see themselves as educators, not just covering the story, but also talking in depth about why they're covering the story and the language that's being used. And I'll just share with you one important story that I think is important. I was walking in a neighborhood, I won't tell you which neighborhood it was, and a guy was yelling at a woman. He said, and I have to put some bass in my voice to say this, he said, yo, bitch, come here. I turned around, not because I thought I was a bitch, but I wanted to see if she would respond to that and who he was talking about. And when I turned around, the woman ran to the man who called her a bitch. And that's part of the cultural problem that we have to address. Once we address the cultural problems about understanding these terms and how you're being spoken to as a man or a woman, that not only will reflect our music, but it will reflect what reporters choose to talk about because they're going to be following the culture.
Well, also one thing, and you know, I agree with accountability, but we also need to be realistic. And I think you make a good point about the culture, because culture obviously yields like, you know, certain behavior and certain things are accepted and not. And, you know, I hate to say this, but most artists, especially when you're a brand new rapper, you're probably a teenager or 20-something years old. And just take a step back. Were you the greatest role model when you were 16 or 17? Had no perspective of the world. And I think what you're going to start seeing with a lot of artists, and you're seeing this a little bit with, I think specifically Jay-Z is a great example of that maturation of hip hop, where from who he started, even, you know, take lyrics off the table, how he would conduct himself in interviews and the image he would portray. Now he's married and has a daughter. So a lot of those, you know, the guy who made Big Pimpin' has a daughter. Like, this is crazy. You think he'd ever talk to his daughter or let any man speak to her that way? Absolutely not. So I think you're going to see certain rappers, you know, as they become more educated, more cosmopolitan, well-traveled, they understand exactly what you're talking about. But to expect, you know, Chief Keef or like, you know, Little Reese and Little Durk to have the same kind of foresight and maturity of a Jay-Z, I don't think is fair. I think it's more you're seeing someone who, you know, needs to learn and kind of see beyond his or her block.
We have to move on to the next question. Oh, we have... I was going to do the social media. Well, let her go first. Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is my question.
Can you speak in the mic?
You know how originally hip-hop was about educating us, making us more aware, making us, you know, want to be drug-free, want to better our lives. Where do you think the transition came into play?
Money.
When art and commerce mix.
Yeah.
When the big money came in, that was it.
You mean as in the people who are producing and are...
I think that in the beginning, I speak from the perspective of an artist myself. When I first started, I didn't care. I just wanted to make music. I just wanted to be a rapper, right? So I did what I wanted to do. Once this idea comes in of this is what you have to be to sell, to get signed, and so on and so forth, that's when I began to change. And then I had to go find myself again because I lost myself to commerce. If you don't behave this way, if you don't say these things, you are not commercial. And it takes like a recipe of bravery, cunning, hustle to be able to change the path. I'm going to give a lot of credit to Kanye for kind of revolutionizing the game and taking it away from the hard face and the mean mugs. I think that, but Kanye is rare. That's a rare breed. But anyway, going back to your original question, I feel that in the beginning, we were free because money was not involved. I think that once money got involved, it became, well, this is what people like. We have focus groups. We have all this. This is what they want to hear. So you better keep doing this. It better be nigga, shoot, my bitch, my hoe, and all that.
So with that being said, is it really the artists who are held?
I'm sorry, but...
No, well, I don't think that...
we can't ask follow-up questions. I'm sorry. We just don't have time for that.
If you listen to Young Jeezy's The Recession, that's one of the most conscious albums I heard the year that it came out. I think it was like 08. That was... Yeah, and I don't think that people are going to give it the credit that it deserves as an album that you could actually learn from. You know why? Because the guy that did it is named Young Jeezy. And I think we're slaves to aesthetics, unfortunately. We get caught up in the niches within the hip hop niche, and we start looking for our artists to look a certain way and act a certain way, and then you can go ahead and be the conscious person, or you could be the gangster rapper or something like that. NWA was Public Enemy. Like, they were the same kind of artists, and one was getting labeled as gangster rap, and one was getting labeled as conscious rap. You know, and it's like, if you really pay attention, and I think that that's what true hip hop fans need to do, is really pay close attention to what their artists are saying. I think that they'll realize that there are still being lessons taught. I don't think that that's, you got to understand, hip hop is a diverse genre within itself. And there are a lot of artists that you can go ahead and get that knowledge that you seek. There are a lot of artists out there. Kendrick Lamar's album is not it's not teaching you anything. It's a diary entry, right? It's an audio diary entry, but it's going to be labeled like this super smart thing, and you're going to go, no, you're not. Just learn about a kid going through his day.
Subjective, though.
Yeah, I know that's that's my take of it. I understand that, but I'm just saying that, you know, I don't think I have one person has a deeper understanding of that album than I do.
But I think Swimming Pools is a great example of how Kendrick can stand on a soapbox but do it in a way that's like palatable. And I agree with you. I think Jeezy's album Recession was a very conscious album, and people might not give it the credit because obviously it's Jeezy and we all know, you know, what the snowman represents. But I think you make a good point that going back to, you know, started in the beginning talking about, you know, even with the Emmett Till reference of Kanye, there can be these little nuggets of knowledge, but you need to search for them. Everyone isn't Dead Prez, everyone isn't Mos Def, everyone isn't standing on their pulpit yelling. There could be like lessons learned, but you kind of have to do a little bit of detective work. Or go to Rap Genius, because they will decode everything for you.
Let's take a question from social media.
A lot of you all are tweeting, and thank you. I am looking at your tweets. We have a couple of questions, but I'm just going to pick one. And one is from Little Miss Pastry. Where's my Little Miss Pastry? Is she in the room? No? Okay.
That's my mother.
I think that's why.
She's probably watching online.
Maybe she's watching online. She wants to know, where did the transition of demoralizing black people come from? And I'm going to assume that she's not talking about like slavery. So I'm guessing, you know, because that's where it could go back to. So I'm guessing that it's about, you know, music-wise. So I'm going to kind of rephrase it and ask you guys, where do you think, when did it become popular for artists to be so out of touch with the community, sort of? Because when it began, it seemed like a very community-filled.
I don't think that ever became cool. I think that maybe what we've seen over the years is just a transition of the artistry and the topics and the themes that they choose to talk about and the way they choose to talk about them. I mean, if you want to go back, you can see the shift from, you know, politically conscious music to more gangster rap and blah, 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 blah. But I don't think specifically demoralizing black people was ever anyone's goal, other than maybe some of the suits, but that's hard to prove. So I can't really say that that's a fact, so.
Hi, my name's Jenna, and I think this question might be a little redundant, but okay. Though hip-hop is still alive, can we argue that the initial message of hip-hop as a genre, African-American empowerment and retaliation of the oppressed, is dead? And if so, can we blame this on the media's excessive replay of hip-hop music of similar subject matter, drugs, money, women? And furthermore, can it be assumed that the mainstream is controlling hip-hop's image or exposing it to stereotypes?
You're a PhD student.
Photography.
I would.
She's a new school student, though. Hey.
I'm going to go on a limb and say that I don't think the message will ever die. I think that struggle that we all endure will always be there. And that's why we are all hopeful that we can clean up our act with hip-hop music, because that's really one of our original ways of expressing how we feel. And I would dare say that the lady who stood up to the microphone and said that she's conflicted with her love for hip-hop, that's probably one of her major reasons why she's conflicted, is because she understands that at the core, the message and the solidarity that we all face as people is still there. She may not just like the way it's expressed.
And you got to just go find it. Like my man said, it's out there. You know, there are many different types of hip hop. There are many different types of artists. Whatever you're looking for is out there. It may not be on the radio, but it's out there if you want to find it.
The internet is a new record label.
Yeah.
There's a lot of artists on it. Check it out.
That was a joke.
Next question, please.
Hi, y'all. Actually, on that note about, right, we can all find kind of alternative artists and rappers, you know, preferably the ones that look like me, right? And I think the question is like, why should we have to settle for that? You know what I mean? Why do I have to look so hard to find these? And it's, you know, because for me, like, I'm not the biggest hip hop head, but like when I look back, I'm like, why? You know, even thinking about like female rap, like why isn't there another MC Lyte? You know what I mean? And right, we talked about the money being an issue. So is there any way of ever going back to actually being more of an empowering, you know, art form? I think the point was brought up in the last panel that, you know, like there are a lot of white buyers in America buying this music, and I don't think that you can necessarily take that away as, you know, influencing what that art form looks like, right? Like the reason why like we don't hear rap songs about like why are like most of the people in the prison industrial complex black, like why wouldn't that be a more popular song, I think is a question of money, right? And I guess how do I have to settle for that answer of like, you know, you just have to find it on your own and it's just the way it is because of the way money works?
Can I hop in? Before I was a rapper, I actually went to film school. My focus was screenwriting or whatever. But anyway, fast forward.
And you made a lot of money doing it.
Just kind of to fast forward through things. Sometimes I would get scripts. I was a reader at Fox for a minute. Sometimes you would get scripts and you would think it was good, right? As a matter of fact, it's good, but then they would ask you, the executive would ask you, is it a movie? And then you would say, no, it's good, but it's not a movie. And sometimes that what the written word can suffer from is being in the wrong form. The wrong form. Like a script, a movie, it addresses things in a different way than a book will, because it's a visual medium, right? So you don't have time to, first of all, you can't go inside somebody's head unless you're in a monologue or whatever. So kind of drawing that to what we're talking about right here, rap, we can't place all this responsibility on rap. You know what I mean? To, well, address this, address that. I mean, I think that would be great. I don't want to be the asshole up here like, man, just let rap be fun, man. Y'all shut up. You know what I mean? I don't want to be that dude, but at the same time, a book could better explore the prison industrial complex than Jay-Z may be able to. Maybe Jay-Z will be able to raise your awareness to a certain issue, but it's about the format. I don't know. I mean,
no, I get that.
You see where I'm going with it? Yeah.
I mean, to your point about diversity, though, which is a little bit different, the first part of your question, there's something interesting going on in hip hop right now. So you see artists like Macklemore and Mac Miller and, you know, I mean, even to some certain extent, the whole Bauer phenomenon with Harlem Shake, this idea that hip hop is not, the definition is constantly changing. So Macklemore, some quick background, he basically had a #1 album by himself. You know, he toured and he did his own marketing and, you know, operated outside of the major label system by and large, and Mac Miller as well. And, you know, they proved, like, we can be commercially viable. And after that, all of the suits and the media and everyone jumped on it. Okay, this is a great idea. Let's go sign 59 more white rappers from the suburbs. Mm-hmm. So I think it's kind of empowering now. If you can prove to be commercially viable and people come to your shows and people download your music and follow you on Twitter, you can look like however you want to look like. I mean, Macklemore has a song about going to a thrift shop. 5-10 years ago, that wasn't hip hop. We would have laughed at that kid, you know what I mean? But now that can be some subsect of hip hop, but you have to understand, if you want to be in the music industry, you have to prove that you can make money.
This is why you need to go out and search for it, because that's your responsibility as a true fan of the music.
Yes.
Okay. We could talk out there.
No, I'm just saying, like, on terms of like gaining notoriety, you can look at YouTube, and I'm specifically talking about people who look like me, right? Because they can get as many views as they want, right? On YouTube, they can get as many indie followers as they want, but yet Macklemore can just go to the thrift shop and get a record deal. You know what I mean?
No,
It's
but
like,
that's not how it happened. That's what I'm saying.
That's not how it works.
But that's the thing. Macklemore, Mac Miller, these guys have toured for years.
You guys
right?
have the people that you like. The people that you like. The people that you
absolutely.
like have to want that kind of success in a way that, like, I've talked to rappers who I love, and I just know, damn it, you're not gonna blow up because you don't want it bad enough. There is a system that you have to get involved in order to be the kind of big that you want those artists to be. And they choose to not be a part of that system. And they choose to, my favorite rapper is Dom Kennedy. I wish he would sign to a major label. He won't. I want more people to like him. He probably won't, you know what I mean? And so, like, you just gotta accept the fact that some of that lies on the artists that are working today, because they know, hey, I don't need to go through that system in order to get big. I'm happy with these YouTube views. I'm happy with these shows in SOBs and not Madison Square Garden.
I just want to interrupt really quick, guys. And we're going to have time for one more question. And I know there's people standing in line. So if you have a question for a specific panelist, kind of just grab them, hopefully, and just ask them rather quickly. It's just that started late. We're running out of time.
Come on, sis. Go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wait, I'm too short.
Just take the mic out.
Hey, that just put a lot of pressure on my question as the last question. But I wanted to go back to accountability for a second. We've mentioned let rappers be rappers and things start in the home. But my issue is, and not only with hip-hop artists, but with sports figures or anyone that has a platform, these people are our cultural tastemakers. Bands That Make Her Dance was a huge hit. And, these are, we've said it all before, these are things that represent our culture. So my question is more for our youth. Do we not feel that that rappers should take more responsibility for the messages that they put out? If a child doesn't have the option to go explore and find rap that's conscious, they listening to what's on the radio, what's on 106 in Park. So yes, they're just rappers, and yes, it's just music, and yes, something would be better in a book or be better, but these children are our youth. These are the people that are coming up, and these are the messages that we're pushing on them. You know what I'm saying? I watched a video where a little boy, his mother was in an argument with someone, and he was yelling out completely unprompted, "You're gay, you're gay," as an insult to this man. And these messages come at him from the culture.
What did the mom say?
Oh, but the mom was too busy being ratchet herself. Right. So I'm saying, and that's a perfect example, because she's not being a good responsibility. So these aren't secrets. Rappers know that homes are not nurturing places for everyone. Should we hold them accountable for the platform that they have? Not just in their music, but on Twitter, on the images they put out, on music videos. Why do we not hold them more accountable for the culture that they make for us and for our youth?
I guess I'll jump in the water first. One, I think that's way too much to put on people who have never met your child. That's number one. I do understand your perspective, and I know that specifically in minority communities, a lot of children don't have their parents. And a lot of children who do have their parents may not have parents who have the perspective that will prevent them from going down that path you just described. At the same time, these are professionals who are creating art. And hopefully at some point in the future, we can create some sort of valve so we can control what these children have access to. But, 7-year-olds, 5-year-olds have iPhones. They're on Twitter too. They're on Facebook. They're on NotRight.com. They're on World Star Hip Hop. You got to block them, but they're going to find a way. These kids are smart. So it's difficult, and it's a slippery slope. I would just say don't put all the onus on the artists. Some of them are grossly ignorant as to the effects of their music, and a lot of them know the effects, but at the same time, how can they really control it?
They can control the images that they put out. They can control their message. That's what they can control.
To a certain, no, they can, but you know, like who receives those images is a different thing than.
And how they process that image, you know, it's not a two-way conversation.
How they process that. I was listening to rap when I shouldn't have been listening to rap. And that wasn't my mom's fault. She did her best to not get me to listen to rap. Next thing I know, I'm getting sent to the office because I'm repeating Nate Dogg lyrics.
Exactly.
So, you know, that's kind of my fault. But like kids are going to find it. And they're gonna have access to it. And Nate Dogg does not need to make his music better just because I'm going to get out there and find it anyways.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, rappers shouldn't be your kids' role models, like unless the rapper's your kid's dad. Like they shouldn't be your.
But overall, I do believe that there could be a more concerted effort by most artists to diversify their subject matter, and their art.
But I think you're going to see that, especially with like the Jay-Z's and Kanye's.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, you're going to see that eventually because they are going to grow up.
Yeah.
Great question. Thank you.
And I just want to thank Lang Student Union, OSDA, USS, and Lang CESJ, Kate Walbert from OSDA, who is God. Like, that's the best way to describe her. Like, this would not have been possible with all the support that we got. Adrian DJ Duga, who is amazing. He's also a filmmaker. So kind of stop and talk to him if you're interested. Thank you to all the panelists. I mean, this was just so awesome and overwhelming. And I mean, we are going to continue to bring hip hop to the new school. This will not be the last hip hop event, I promise. Thank you guys for coming. Thank you.